Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. You are joining us live from London on Women's AM. If you have just joined us, we have with us Marzana Rahman, who has courageously shared with us her story and what she went through in her abusive marriage. I know before we went to the break, you were talking about one of the toughest times, that toughest moment when he really threatened you and actually claimed that he could really hurt you. What did that do to you?
I think that took my personality away. This confident, brave character that I was, somebody who was the heart of the party, turned into somebody who did not have an identity. I lost my self-respect, my self-esteem. I even lost 2.5 stones in weight. I could not eat, and that was also a point of argument for him. You don't eat, people are going to think I don't feed you. But if I had a plate of food in front of me, something would happen that would make me not feel like eating. So it's very important to be mentally in the right place, to be able to eat, to be able to smile. You can't punch someone and expect them to smile. And this is what I see when I speak to other people now. I see myself in their position, and I think it's so sad that somebody's bitter words can lead to that.
And for you, it became day-to-day, just getting through each day. It became about avoiding a fight, avoiding a trigger, you just completely took it on yourself to make sure another argument doesn't happen.
I became immune to the abuse. It was as if it was normal. If I spoke to, like, say, my best friend who didn't know everything, but that was the only person that could speak to, she'd be shocked and I'd be like, oh, yeah, it's fine. Because she was trying to encourage me to come out of it, but in a way that I did it myself, because I always was this go-getter and I needed to make that decision. And if somebody else...
you didn't really see in yourself the change.
No.
That other people saw it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't... He stripped away your personality. He stripped away your confidence. It was just pretty much living in fear every day, ensuring you don't do anything that will upset him.
I used to go to sleep every day and wake up every day thinking, why am I alive? I would sit on my prayer mat and pray for death. Now, it seems ironic because now when I look at myself and I look myself in the mirror and I think, you know, I actually do love myself. You know, I value myself. And there's many important characters that have touched my life after to give me that boost of confidence.
At that moment, that when you used to wake up and used to go on the prayer mat and ask for death, did you not see that as a sign that this is not healthy, that if I could wish for death, that I need to get out of this?
Because of the stigma attached to a divorced woman, I thought it was better to die than be free. Obviously now life has changed and I see things in a different way, but at that very moment I would wake up, I'd look at this monster next to me who I believed at the time that I loved very dearly. I mean, I even overdosed, and it caught up with me afterwards, but at the time I would be like, oh, nothing's working. What is going on? Why is Allah making me suffer? What have I ever done?
I think psychologically you went into a very dark place.
Yes.
Because the Marzana you know today wouldn't do that.
No. And if I saw somebody else doing that, I know exactly what I would do and what I'd say to them. And even at the time, I'd look myself in the mirror and be like, this isn't right for you. And I'd question things. And I hated myself. And I think that resent was not just towards him, it was towards myself.
And I think one of the reasons was because you thought you weren't being a good enough wife.
He told me that. He always said, you should be an obedient wife. You should...
And you tried to do those
yourself.
things.
And I did everything. I think it got to a stage where I didn't care about myself. It was all about him. What he had to say, is he going to approve? Okay, I'm not waking up in the morning early enough. You know, let me run downstairs and get him a glass of juice that might make him happy. I'd sit there. I didn't know who he was anymore, but I'd sit there wanting him to love me because I was always used to being loved. As a child, growing up, I was always loved. So being in a situation where I was around people but alone, it's funny when I read certain quotes, and the hardest thing is to live with somebody but not be with them. I was living with him, I was sharing a bed with him, but
Did your
he was not with
family,
me.
did your family know what was going
They
on?
knew nothing. They just knew that I was blindly in love with this guy and just trying to make it work.
But how did you hide all the bruises?
I didn't see them. He kept me away from everybody, and
So he isolated you.
He isolated me. He was very clever and tactical. He'd say, like, yeah, you can go and see everybody that you want to see. I don't mind. But had I seen them, or if I did see them or speak to them, Lord Almighty, that would be a problem. It would create an issue. And I know this happens a lot, whether it's, men being abused or women being abused. The partner psychologically drains away their thinking power. So they're in a situation where they don't know what to do. They can't come out of it. They can't think straight. I think that's the sad reality of domestic violence, because it happens and the victim themselves do not know that they are victims. I had no idea that I was a victim to this. I just knew that this was happening. Got to live with it. It might get better. I saw his better side before. He might change. That was my mentality.
And also in terms of isolating you from your family, I mean, some people might wonder, well, why did your family not check up on you? But the reality was that because you wanted this marriage to work so much, your parents didn't want to get in the way.
I was very tough on my family. So the way I come across, and I mentioned this right at the beginning, I put a poker face on, that's what they saw. Oh, I'm happy, Mum and Dad. Leave me alone. Let me work this out. You guys are creating an issue for me. I made them feel like they were, just so that they would stay away. I would say certain things that would make them back off and be like, oh, okay, that's how she feels.
But they didn't know you were suffering.
They had no idea. Had they known, had my father known, I don't think he would have cared about his own life. My brothers would not have cared about their own life. They would have gone and done something stupid.
And then you were trying to protect them from doing anything silly as well.
And also, I didn't want to see my family behind bars. And the fact that I, at that time, being so weak and being, at the moment I realized I was so weak was when my mother-in-law managed to chuck me to the ground and kick me down. I won't go into too much detail because it's not necessary right now. But she was able to do that, and that made me feel like I'm not strong enough. I can't protect myself. How am I going to protect my family? Let me just keep them away. When my ex-partner was telling me that he could get them killed, he said, I can get your mother killed, he said, I can get your father killed, your brother killed, another brother, make him disabled, and I can get your mother raped. And if somebody says that to you, when you care about your family so much, I don't know how he would feel if I said that to him.
But it crippled you with fear. It really crippled you.
I was petrified. I thought that just die in this house. And also I thought if I'm with him, at least I can control what he does and he won't go for my family. If I leave, he might come and attack us.
So the situation, even though you wanted to leave, it became about protecting your family.
Protecting my family, and I was slightly selfish because I did want to be with him. Because I was scared of coming out with my story and coming out. I mean, even after I left him, I kept it very hush. Nobody knew that I had separated from him. So much so that when I posted that I was going to come here, I got various messages saying, oh my God, I had no idea you had been through this. How can someone as pretty and confident as you go through that?
I mean, you did leave him. And then what was the final straw?
The final straw, 12th of March, I will never forget that day. I I still turned back and said to him, I do love you, even after they created a mastermind idea, brought my father down, and they were about 6 boys outside the house, and they wanted to create some sort of scenario. Cut the story short, his brother came up to me and said, he said, I'm going to kill you and I'm going to kill your father. Took my phone, had the gun to my head, was shocked. I was like, what the hell?
Up to this day, you don't know if the gun was real or not, but they really created this atmosphere of fear.
Yeah, exactly. His brother punched me, and when he came up to me and said, what happened? I said, your brother just punched me. And he said, don't incriminate my brother. And he walked away. And I think that was the final straw. So I went, But then I wasn't still strong enough to let go. So I called him numerous occasions, and he said some really hurtful things. And when I woke up the next morning, I woke up feeling like, what is this? I called him for the last time, and what he said made me realize that he is not my husband, because he said to me, "You're not my wife, you're your father's daughter." I hanged up, and I was looking for someone to love me. I called up my mother. She was awake, she was distraught. And she told me that the police arrested my father and raided the house. And I think that broke me inside.
Based on false claims made by your husband.
Exactly, that my dad went to kill them. And I could see exactly what their plan was, because they wanted the house, they wanted to stay in that house, and he made me, do various things that I didn't want to do at the time because of this house.
But the last straw was the fact that he had your father and brother spend a night in jail.
A night in a cell.
Based on false accusations.
And I felt like it was my fault. And the selfless side of me felt like I was the reason behind everybody having these problems, whether it was his mother and brothers and him going through pain and my parents going through pain. So I thought the best thing for me to do, I literally thought to myself I wanted to kill myself that day. I thought, before I go, I will do one last thing, and that is tell the truth. Because it's important that everybody knows what I went through before I go. So I called up 101 and I told them exactly what happened. They took me into a police station, took me to a secure unit. They most probably see things like this on a day-to-day basis, and I think they were even more worried that I was a brown face, because not a lot of brown faces come out with these things, and also that stigma attached. So on that basis, they wanted me to stay away from everybody. When my mother was calling, they didn't want me to answer the call. They just wanted me to be alone. And they said loads of encouraging things. I must admit that, when people say that the police system is not right in our country, I really refuse, because they were brilliant and they gave me so much encouragement. And then when I walked out of that, and just to have my family around me that night, that I, in my head, subconsciously told myself that I would kill myself. And obviously I wasn't thinking that it's a sin at the time. You just think, I need to do this, I want to get away. And my parents were around me, and all my family came to my rescue, and they showed me so much love that I felt like I can't do this, because if I do, it's not them that are going to worry or cry about me. My ex-husband couldn't care less. But my parents would suffer, and they have not raised me like this to go through and have to see my corpse. So that for me was, okay, fine, I'm going to live. But I still had hope that he might turn himself around. Clearly he didn't. I received a letter saying that he took money out of my account, and I was like, this is it. That was the moment I took my engagement ring off. I again sat in my prayer mat, and I thought, I'm going to turn my life around. And that was when the journey of me becoming stronger, bolder, and this happened. And along the way, what I did was go out there and go back into the city where I thrived. So I got my mojo back. Confidence and putting that poker face played a very important role in my getting myself together. But there was one particular person that came like an angel, and through fitness, I was able to meet Nazia Khatun, and I see her as an angel in disguise, because she has encouraged me in such a way. And I'd say to people that, it's important to talk to somebody who can listen to you, who can understand everything you have to say and give you that reassurance. This woman was so powerful that she made me love myself. She gave me the confidence to delve into those real issues that I covered up. I put heaps of sands on top. The fact that I was covering it from the world.
You went to her as a broken person. I
went to her as a very, very broken person. And that's why I feel like, the fact that I didn't know what I went through, coming out and thinking, okay, I'll turn my life around just for the sake of turning it around. but I didn't really love myself. So the reality is I would have drawn towards those sorts of people again, broken people. He was from a broken family. I was always from a nuclear family, so I was loved and I was given that lifestyle that a lot of people would want. So I've never had a problematic childhood. But because I was broken, I felt like I was not drawing the right people towards me. There was a lot of negativity.
You were broken, but you did go on a road to recovery.
Oh, yes.
That didn't happen overnight.
No.
But you did do it. You came out of it.
Yes.
You didn't talk about it for about a year after marriage. You still didn't talk about
2
what
years.
happened. 2 years. 2 years. What finally makes you break your silence today?
When I came across a lady that spoke to me about her experience of how she was in this 10 years ago and she still hasn't been able to come out of that situation. And she said, I don't know how you do it. What you're saying is amazing. I wish somebody said this to me before. And it was a reality check for me. What I'm saying, what I'm doing, people can relate with me. I can talk to people. I'm confident. Why am I not doing this more? Why am I not putting myself out there so that it's not just one person whose life that I can bring into light? I want to go out and speak to as many people as possible.
You did start sharing your snippets of what you went through on social media.
Yes.
I mean, this is the first time you're really talking about this on a public platform and to this depth, but you put snippets on social media and you started getting a lot of response.
Yes.
And I think this is pretty much what's motivated you. You know what?
Definitely.
If I can relate to so many women out there, so many people are coming to me, contacting me, then maybe I can do more.
Yes, the moment I put up the very first snippet, I write a lot, so I write a few journals, and I read out a little passage from my journal. I actually read this to a friend of mine who sent it to somebody else, and she turned around and said, oh, by the way, you know that girl that I sent it to, she managed to come out of her abusive relationship. Wow.
Because of what
Because of this recording of me speaking out a passage from my journal.
It inspired her, gave her the strength.
Exactly. And then when I posted it on social media, on Instagram, I had numerous different messages. Thank you for sharing this. I wish I could speak like you. My mother had been going through this for 20 odd years, and I'm so proud that there's a brown face, a Bengali face that's come out and speaking about this.
You know what? We are running out of time.
Yes.
I could stay here and just listen to you because it's not just a sad story. There's strength in this. There's inspiration in this. So what advice would you give to other women who are in this still suffering or have suffered?
You are not alone. Do not think that there's nothing left of life. When you come out and you take one step, 10 steps will come in front of you.
And from your experience, what would you like them to take away from it, from your story?
Love yourself. Because not just women that are suffering, a lot of women, we cannot look at ourselves in the mirror and appreciate who we are. I couldn't. And to now appreciate that my body, my soul, who I am is a gift from Allah. And it's true. It's written. Your body is something that's given to you. It's borrowed, so you have to look after it. Exactly.
It's a trust from Allah.
Exactly.
And I think also just keeping in mind that you don't. Of course, we're human beings. We need others to love us, but the ultimate love is from the love of Allah.
Exactly.
Allah loves us.
And if you think about it, if Allah was to give you a gift, He gave you a flower, you will treasure that, and you will make sure you look after it with all your life. Think of your body as that. You can't affect
your
it.
Mind,
you
your
can't
soul.
Exactly. Yeah. Do not harm it, and do not let anybody else harm it. If it's your child, you won't abuse your child to that extent. So don't you abuse it, nor let anybody else abuse it. Take pride in yourself and love yourself. Because when you love yourself, everything else will make sense. And I'm speechless talking about this because it's such a powerful thing. The moment that you realize that there's more to life, it will give you that empowerment, and you will become an empowered woman.
And so you have come out of this now,
yes,
alhamdulillah, and you are trying to be a voice for others.
Yeah.
And also a good example in you is that often we hate ourselves, we blame ourselves, we think we're weak. But you don't, when you have a vulnerability, when you have a kind heart, I think when people take advantage of that,
Yes.
you have to see that it's not your fault. And but now, what are your hopes and dreams going forward? Because I know you have a lot of plans. I know you want to do much more. Tell us a bit about that.
So I have started up a campaign called The Broken Bride. It's also something that's new, and I'm mentioning it for the first time here on Islam Channel. It will be a campaign that will help women post domestic violence. There's a lot of campaigns out there that teach you what domestic violence is and how to get out of it, but there's nothing that makes you understand how to turn your life around. So that's the foundation of my campaign.
And you are setting up a blog that's called Broken Brides.
Well, I've tried to keep it as simple as possible because I will be the face of this campaign. It is MarzanaRahman.com. And a section of that will be The Broken Bride, where I will talk about my story in more depth, and also I will be writing about other people's experiences and how to turn your life around, inshallah.
And this is so much for people just to take something from it, know that there are others going through it. But before we end, Marzana, one question. How would you define your personality now today?
I am invincible. I feel like I have touched death and come back. There's nothing stopping me now. My confidence is at an all-time high. And when I look at myself in the mirror, I can say that, you know what, I do love this girl in the mirror, and I'm proud of what she's become, from what I used to be to what I am now. Obviously, I've got a lot of things to do going forward. But if I can do it, anybody can do it. Seriously. And I just feel like if you are in a position where you feel like you can't come out of it, look at me and see everything that I went through and think, you know what, it's not that difficult.
It is a brilliant example in you. Jazakallah khair so much,
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having the courage today. Really, really grateful for coming and sharing your story. I pray Marzana's story has given an insight into what abuse can do to a person. The purpose of sharing her story is to humanize the statistics. Otherwise, they are just numbers to us. Taking advantage of a person's heart and vulnerability is not okay. And while one may have the strength to hurt and control, know that Allah's strength is greater. And Allah does not forget even an ounce of hurt that you or I may cause. Join us again tomorrow for our concluding episode on this week's Women's AM campaign against domestic violence. Marzana will be on the panel with us, so if you have any questions or comments for Marzana and our other experts, please call in tomorrow on our live call-in number. See you all tomorrow at 11 AM. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Thank you.